A waitress tied the knot with a homeless man solely to bring him along to her grandmother's birthday celebration, unaware that he was actually a millionaire, and his actions left everyone astonished. Before we dive into the tale, please share in the comments where you're tuning in from. Delight in the tale. Chloe Evans was unfamiliar with the concept of rest. Since 7 in the morning, she had been tirelessly on her feet, deftly balancing plates and swiftly rushing orders at the bustling restaurant where she worked. Amidst the turmoil, she consistently carved out a moment in her day for a secret act of kindness, quietly feeding a homeless man who lingered on the sidewalk nearby. In the brief interlude between lunch and dinner, Chloe snatched a takeout container, concealed it in her backpack, and quietly slipped out the back door. She was aware of his exact location, perched in his usual place on the sidewalk, arms folded, gaze locked on a far-off point, as though observing life unfold without engaging in it. "Jacob," she murmured gently, lowering herself to his level, "we have grilled chicken today, along with rice and broccoli. I truly hope it pleases you." He gradually lifted his gaze, as was his custom, and a subtle smile tugged at the edges of his lips. Today was certainly an improvement. Yesterday's rice had the texture of cement. She chuckled softly while lifting the lid of the container. "At least the warmth is present." Jacob handled the food with great care, as though that simple act held a significance beyond the meal itself. He possessed a serene, understated demeanor, almost too tranquil for a life spent on the streets. He always remained silent, never seeking anything, never voicing a complaint. And even more oddly, he communicated with a certain grace that seemed at odds with his ragged attire and the soiled blanket beside him. "What was it like in there today?" he inquired between mouthfuls. "A customer attempted to persuade me that having an allergy to pepper warranted a complimentary dessert. I nearly launched a pudding straight at his forehead." Jacob chuckled softly, a brief, muted sound. Chloe enjoyed bringing a smile to his face. It was a rare occurrence, but when it happened, it brightened her day more than any gratuity ever could. Suddenly, the rapid patter of footsteps interrupted their exchange. Chloe turned her head with a sudden instinct and came to a standstill. Across the street, Dylan, her fiancé, strolled alongside a blonde woman, his arm wrapped around her. They appeared incredibly intimate, even beyond intimacy. She chuckled softly, her fingers gliding over his chest. Dylan was open about it. He pressed his lips to hers. Chloe experienced a wave of unease wash over her. "That fool!" she exclaimed, springing up with the speed of a flash. "Chloe, hold on!" Jacob shouted after her, but she was already striding across the street, a tempest ready to unleash its fury. "Dylan!" she called out. The pair came to a halt. Dylan regarded her with a blend of astonishment and irritation, as if she were an issue he had overlooked and needed to confront. "Chloe, this isn't the right time." "Not at this moment." She nearly chuckled in astonishment. "You're betraying me right out in the open, and you expect me to keep quiet about it?" The blonde stood still. Dylan, however, let out an exasperated sigh. "Chloe, you're being a bit dramatic. Our connection has been unraveling for quite some time now. You simply chose to look the other way." "It's been 3 years, Dylan." Her voice quivered. 3 years spent side by side. You assured me that marriage was in our future, that you were merely biding your time for a promotion, and that you would eventually introduce me to your parents. What is the reason behind this? What could possibly motivate you to treat me this way?" He let out a chilling, derisive laugh. "Because I have evolved, Chloe." "What about you?" "You remain in the same position. You're merely a server. I possess a strong drive, and to be frank, do you genuinely believe my family would welcome someone like you?" Chloe sensed the breath escape her body. It felt as though someone had delivered a sharp blow to my heart. Her eyes blazed with intensity, yet she held back the tears in that moment. "Hello." A resonant, commanding voice emerged from behind her. Jacob took a step ahead. He stood barefoot, his clothes soiled, yet there was an undeniable authority in his posture that commanded instant respect. "You've said enough, my friend," Jacob remarked with a steady gaze, locking eyes with Dylan. Dylan let out a soft laugh. "And who might you be? Is he the janitor?" "Absolutely not. I am a companion." "Ah, would you look at that? Even your friend without a home chose to interject." Dylan chuckled derisively. "It would be wise to depart before you express anything that your conscience might struggle to bear." Dylan exhaled sharply, cast Chloe a final disdainful glance, and turned on his heel to leave with the other woman, remaining silent. Chloe stood there, bewildered, attempting to comprehend the events that had just unfolded as her phone vibrated in her pocket. It was her mother. "Darling, is everything prepared for the weekend? Your grandmother can hardly contain her excitement to see you, particularly to meet your fiancé. You're aware of her nature. Her only desire is to witness your marriage before anything else unfolds." Chloe took a deep breath. "Absolutely, Mom, all is well. He will definitely be accompanying me. We are thriving. That's absolutely delightful, my dear. It promises to be stunning." She's marking off the days. The conversation concluded. Chloe remained motionless, her gaze vacant, clearly engulfed by her emotions. "You deceived me," Jacob stated. "I deceived," she responded, panting. "Your grandmother is eager to witness your marriage. It is her aspiration. I made a vow to her that I would tie the knot before her birthday arrives. This Sunday is the day." Jacob gazed at her for a brief moment. He adjusted his coat and, with an air of serene confidence, uttered the words, "Marry me." She chuckled softly. "Are you serious right now?" "Negative. Will you be my partner for life? Please introduce me to your grandmother. After 3 months, we part ways legally. You uphold your commitment, and I assist you with this." Chloe remained motionless. The pavement seemed to have been suspended in a moment, untouched by the passage of time. The concept was utterly outrageous. Yet her life was already in disarray. What about Jacob? Interestingly, he was the sole individual who had not sought anything from her or anticipated anything in return. "Jacob, you find yourself without a home." "Perhaps. Yet here I stand, a man without a home, filled with gratitude and deep respect for you. That surpasses anything your former partner ever accomplished." Chloe continued to gaze at Jacob as if he had just proposed jumping out of a plane without any safety gear. "Are you being serious?" she inquired once more, her voice barely rising above a whisper. "I exist. And just to clarify, no, I'm not out of my mind. Or at least not any more eccentric than you require me to be at this moment." With her arms crossed, she pondered whether he was merely jesting or genuinely proposing this idea. Union. A formal agreement. Please. An unexpected accord forged between two unfamiliar souls. But what is the reason? She murmured, captivated, her gaze fixed on him. "Your daily generosity in providing food without expecting anything in return is truly appreciated. I listened to the way your grandmother communicated with you over the phone. Due to the fact that perhaps you could use a companion at this moment. Only for a brief moment." Chloe bit her lip, her heart pounding in her chest. Her thoughts were a cacophony of denial. Yet, a voice within her, perhaps the part that had long felt overlooked, unseen, and expendable, was softly urging, "Why not?" "All right," she finally replied, swallowing with difficulty. "Shall we tie the knot?" Jacob offered a faint smile, seemingly taken aback that his proposal had been embraced. And just like that, as if it were the most ordinary occurrence, the two of them made their way to the courthouse. "How about we engage in a fun little activity for those who prefer to skim through the comments? Write about fried chicken. Only those who have journeyed to this point will truly grasp the meaning in the comments." Let us return to the narrative. The courthouse stood plain and unassuming, and in the late afternoon light, it was mostly deserted. Chloe donned her restaurant uniform beneath a tattered coat, and Jacob. He resembled a figure straight from the depths of a post-apocalyptic film. Nonetheless, they strolled side by side to the front desk. "We're here to get married," Chloe declared confidently. The woman behind the counter gradually lifted her gaze, regarding them with the same unsettling charm as a skewed painting hanging on the wall. "Very well," she remarked, reaching for a few documents. "Please provide your IDs and complete this form promptly. There's still time left in the day." Chloe completed everything with hands that trembled yet were resolute. Jacob, in contrast, penned his words with an elegance that captivated the receptionist's gaze. She arched an eyebrow. Once they finished, they passed the documents along. Moments later, they found themselves summoned into the judge's office. "Good afternoon," remarked the judge, an elderly gentleman with silver hair and slender spectacles. "Let's make this brief, shall we?" Yet, he regarded Jacob with a hint of worry. "Do you truly wish to unite your life with this man, miss?" Chloe acted without a moment's pause. "Certainly. You have no idea who he is." "I have sufficient knowledge." The judge merely shrugged. "All right, if you both are on board, let's formalize it." In that moment, with words stripped of warmth and eyes betraying uncertainty and anxiety, Chloe Evans and Jacob Smith were pronounced husband and wife. They exited the courthouse with the glee of two children who had just played a trick on the adults. Chloe was drenched in anxiety. Jacob appeared remarkably composed, as if he had encountered far more bizarre situations than an unexpected union with a frantic waitress. "What comes next?" she inquired, poised on the sidewalk with the marriage certificate clutched in her hand. "Now you bring me to your space. We need to arrive looking neat and tidy at your grandmother's house this weekend, don't we?" Chloe released a jittery chuckle. "I recently tied the knot with someone I barely know." "Oh my goodness, I wed someone I barely know." "I'm a courteous passerby, and I'm quite adept at washing dishes," Jacob responded, strolling alongside her as if it were the most ordinary occurrence imaginable. Chloe's apartment was compact yet well organized, featuring a studio layout with an open kitchen, a sofa bed, and a petite bathroom. She entered and let her bag fall to the floor, her body still trembling from the rush of the most outrageous day she had ever experienced. "The bathroom's over there," she said, gesturing with a pointed finger. Jacob acknowledged her with a nod and entered, clutching the fresh towel she had handed him. Chloe sank into the couch, her face hidden in her hands. "I entered into marriage with a man experiencing homelessness, a person I hardly know, and I'm bringing him to meet my grandmother. What am I doing with my existence?" Just as she was about to formulate a response, the unmistakable sound of the shower being turned on filled the air. Moments later, the door swung open, revealing Jacob, clad only in a white towel, his hair still damp and cascading over his strong back and sculpted chest. Chloe's eyes grew wide with surprise. "Wow," she exclaimed impulsively, unable to hold back her words. Jacob arched an eyebrow. "Is everything all right?" "No," she hesitated. "It's simply that you don't quite appear to be lacking in nourishment." He chuckled softly. "I exercise whenever possible. Staying fit can be as simple as using pull-up bars at the park and sprinting after buses." She chuckled, yet remained astonished by the sight before her. That was not merely the body of an ordinary man. It resembled a scene straight from a fragrance advertisement. Chloe averted her gaze, attempting to suppress the overwhelming realization that, in a legal sense, this man was now her husband. "Put on some clothes," she said, rising from her seat. "Tomorrow, we'll be setting out bright and early to see my grandma. It's time to prepare everything thoroughly." The following morning, still grappling with the surreal events that had unfolded, Chloe found herself behind the wheel of her aging car, making her way down the winding road to the countryside, where her grandmother, Margot, resided. Jacob sat next to her, clad in a simple shirt and a pair of pants he had borrowed from her brother, garments she had held onto since the last Christmas. "Feeling anxious?" he inquired. "Is it me?" "No, just experiencing a slight sense of urgency. Everything will turn out well. Your ability to maintain composure in utterly absurd circumstances is truly remarkable. Perhaps I've honed my skills over time." She gazed at him for a moment, intrigued. "It sounds as if you've faced greater challenges." "I possess." She felt a surge of curiosity, yet as the house appeared before her, adorned with blooming flowers in the garden and wisps of smoke rising from the chimney, her thoughts were momentarily swept away. As they parked, Chloe's mom hurried out to welcome them, enveloping her in a warm embrace. At last, she spoke, then shifted her gaze to Jacob. "So, this is Jacob. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, dear." He offered a warm smile and greeted her with courteous charm. "The pleasure is all mine. Grandma is thrilled. She is situated in her personal space. Visit her, Chloe. Bring your husband along." Chloe experienced a delightful sensation in her stomach as she strolled down the hallway. As she pushed the bedroom door ajar, her gaze fell upon Grandma Margot, nestled in her armchair, enveloped in a delicate floral shawl. "Grandma," she spoke with affection. "I'd like you to get acquainted with someone. This is Jacob." The elderly woman fixed her gaze upon him, her tiny eyes squinting as she scrutinized his features intently. "Is that you, Jacob?" she whispered softly. "That name rings a bell. Surely, you can't be the elusive billionaire everyone talks about." Jacob stood still, enveloped in silence. Chloe glanced back and forth between the two of them. "Please, Mom." As if Chloe would ever consider marrying a billionaire. "You must be mistaking him for someone else," Chloe's mother said. Jacob maintained his calm, even as his heart raced wildly. Chloe's grandmother regarded him as if she were unearthing memories from a long-sealed box, retrieving visions from a history he wished to keep hidden. "I believe you might be confusing me with someone else," he said, offering a courteous smile. "Perhaps." Margot whispered, her gaze still fixed on him. "Yet those eyes, they linger in my memory. Such eyes are impossible to forget." Chloe moved in closer, softly grasping her grandmother's hand, seeking to steer the conversation in a different direction. "Grandma, all is well. Jacob is new to this place. It seems you might have someone else in mind." The elderly lady held her gaze for a few more moments before breaking into a smile. "You are correct, my dear. Time has a way of deceiving me at times. As the years pass, I find it increasingly difficult to rely on my own recollections." Jacob gently eased the tension in his shoulders. Her gaze remained etched in his thoughts. He couldn't risk being identified. Not at this moment. With a smile directed at Chloe, she remarked that he appeared to be a good man. "If he treats you well, I fully support it." "He does," Chloe responded, taken aback by the realization that she truly meant it. Shortly thereafter, they convened around the dinner table. Chloe's mom had prepared an extravagant meal. Succulent roast chicken, fragrant rice adorned with almonds, creamy potato salad, and a delightful apple pie. A greater quantity of food than Chloe typically encountered in an entire month of labor. "Jacob, go ahead and serve yourself, darling," her mother encouraged, nudging a dish toward him. He expressed his gratitude with a soft smile and modestly helped himself. His movements flowed with elegance and sophistication, as if he had been raised in a world of opulence far beyond this setting. Chloe observed, and her mother did as well. "Your manners are quite commendable, Jacob. What were you up to before you met my daughter?" Jacob took a moment to reflect, and Chloe mirrored his stillness. "I collaborated with individuals in various locations, nothing long-term," he replied with a tranquility that seemed practiced. "What do you mean?" her mother inquired, intrigued, seeking insight. "I assisted small enterprises in their growth journey." "What comes next?" At this moment, I'm pausing to begin anew. The response was persuasive enough to conclude the discussion. Chloe exhaled, releasing the tension she had been carrying. Chloe mentioned that you both had a recent encounter. Did it feel like love at first sight? Her mother playfully teased. Chloe stole a quick look at Jacob, attempting to mask the fear that flickered in her gaze. Kind of, he said, a smile playing on his lips as he looked at her. It was a surprising bond, yet undeniably genuine. For a fleeting instant, reality seemed overwhelmingly vivid. The way he gazed at Chloe was genuine, there was an undeniable honesty in his eyes. With a gentle glow of warmth and admiration, she averted her gaze, her cheeks aflame. What truly counts is her happiness, her mother remarked. And if Grandma offered her approval, who am I to argue? As we sat down for dinner, the dialogue unfolded effortlessly. Jacob recounted impartial tales, taking care to avoid revealing anything that could expose his true self. Yet, with each response he provided, Chloe couldn't help but mentally arch an eyebrow. He articulated his thoughts on wines with great expertise, referenced an upscale Italian restaurant, and possessed a vocabulary that seemed out of place for someone experiencing homelessness. Following dessert, Jacob volunteered to handle the dishes, which utterly delighted Chloe's mother. As Chloe led her grandmother to the bedroom. So, what were your true thoughts about him? Chloe inquired, perched on the edge of her grandmother's bed. Margot beamed. He is one of a kind. I've always had a positive intuition about others, yet it seems he's holding back some details. It's quite clear. He embodies much more than his words convey. I understand, Chloe whispered, glancing at her hands, but Grandma, he was there for me. During my darkest moments, I truly can't fathom how I would have navigated these past few days without his support. Her grandmother tenderly clasped her hand. At times, the hidden truths of individuals do not determine their essence. The essence lies in the way they regard us. Chloe beamed, feeling a wave of emotion. She pressed her lips gently to her grandmother's forehead before returning to the living room. Jacob was in the final moments of placing the dishes neatly in their designated spots. She remarked that you have a knack for washing dishes. I possess knowledge in several areas. I was a member of the Boy Scouts. He responded with a gentle smile. She chuckled softly. I believe my mom truly appreciated you. And my grandma, she didn't send you packing, so we're managing just fine. That's quite pleasing. It seems we have just about 90 days remaining, doesn't it? Perhaps something along those lines. Jacob regarded her intently for a few moments, his expression now more solemn. If you ever wish to put an end to all of this, just let me know. I understand, but at this moment, it's functioning, albeit in an unusual manner, yet it is indeed working. They lingered in quietude for a brief moment. Chloe observed Jacob intently. She found herself captivated by his words, enchanted by his movements. He had mentioned that he assisted companies, yet there was an underlying truth, a detail he chose to withhold. May I pose a question to you? She inquired, her words slipping out almost instinctively. What brought you to that sidewalk on that particular day? What makes that location special? Jacob paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. It seemed like a sanctuary. I felt the urge to vanish. The sidewalk seemed to fade away, and I craved a moment of my own obscurity. Escaping from what exactly? He offered a smile, yet remained silent. That evening, Chloe found herself resting in the familiar confines of her childhood bedroom. Jacob remained in the living room, settled on the couch. However, neither of them found rest easily. Both were preoccupied with thoughts of one another, grappling with the emotions that were starting to surface, even if they couldn't bring themselves to acknowledge it. The following morning, they bid farewell to her grandmother, exchanging heartfelt embraces and sincere smiles. Margot clasped Jacob's hand, lingering in the moment more than one might anticipate. She expressed her gratitude for looking after her girl. She's the one looking after me, he responded. As they drove back to the city, Chloe remained silent for a few moments, gazing out the window. Jacob allowed her the room she needed. The journey back to the apartment was serene, yet infused with an intriguing freshness. A subtle tension lingered, nearly imperceptible, as if an unseen thread connected Chloe and Jacob. Since departing from her grandmother's home, she found herself unable to shake the memory of how he had responded to the family's inquiries, exuding a calm assurance and a grace that seemed far removed from a life spent on the streets. For the moment, she chose to remain silent. Not at this moment. Upon entering the apartment, Chloe swiftly removed her shoes and let her purse fall onto the couch. "I'm utterly drained," she remarked, extending her limbs. "How about you?" "I'm all set to prepare dinner." She gazed at him, taken aback. "Do you prepare meals?" "It really hinges on your definition of cooking. I can whip up omelets, prepare pasta, and, well, that's about the extent of my culinary skills." Chloe chuckled, flipping her hair over her shoulder. Flawless. Omelets seemed delightful. They entered the kitchen, a cozy space barely accommodating two, where bumping shoulders and soft laughter became unavoidable as they reached for the spices. Jacob diced the ingredients with such precision that Chloe couldn't help but stop and observe him. "Your skill with the knife is quite captivating. Have you ever had the experience of working in a professional kitchen?" "I viewed numerous videos and dedicated time to honing my skills." "Excessive time?" "Let's just say life handed me a few unexpected pauses." She offered a smile, yet an intuition lingered that there was depth beyond that response. However, Jacob had a knack for shifting the conversation, and she preferred to keep the atmosphere light. In mere moments, dinner was prepared, and they settled next to each other on the couch, plates resting on their laps, engrossed in a random movie flickering on the screen. It was a charming tale, infused with just the right amount of irony to elicit laughter. "Check this out," Jacob remarked, gesturing towards the screen. They despise one another, then she stumbles, he grabs her, their eyes lock, and just like that, love ignites. Chloe chuckled at the renowned romantic journey. "That's not how it unfolds in reality." "Absolutely not." She cast him a sidelong glance. "No. Reality is filled with expenses, disorder, and there's often no one to support you when you stumble. You simply descend." Jacob paused, as if her words had stirred something profound within him. At times, an individual clings tightly. It occurs infrequently, yet it does happen. The ensuing silence was not at all awkward. It was rich with significance. Chloe sensed a warmth swell within her, an emotion she attempted to suppress with another bite of her meal. Following dinner, Chloe took to the task of washing the dishes, while Jacob handled the drying. The tasks fell into place effortlessly, as if they had rehearsed this dance countless times prior. "It's growing late," she remarked. "I will be working all day tomorrow. Are you suggesting I should sleep on the couch?" She took a brief moment to reflect. This was a conversation that had never taken place. Since the wedding, they had been sleeping in separate spaces, almost like roommates, but now she found herself hesitating. "No, you may rest on the mattress." "I'll take the couch tonight," Jacob said with a frown. "Chloe, it's perfectly okay, truly, you deserve some rest as well." "All right, but if you decide to change your mind later, just give me a nudge." She nodded, wiping her hands dry. As he stepped into the shower, she took the opportunity to freshen up the mattress with crisp, clean sheets and thoughtfully placed a blanket within reach. As he stepped outside, he donned a relaxed t-shirt she had given him, paired with shorts that did little to conceal his impressive physique. Chloe feigned indifference, yet the truth was undeniable. Jacob possessed a strong, sculpted physique, yet his gaze remained serene and kind, devoid of any hostility. He embodied a unique blend of power and compassion. She switched off the light and settled onto the couch, yet slumber eluded her. The stillness of the apartment was pierced solely by the rhythm of his breath echoing from the far side of the room. And then, as if she could sense the turmoil within, Chloe asked, do you regret it?" She shifted her position, allowing her cheek to sink into the softness of the cushion. What is there to regret? The marriage, the chaos, and my presence in it all. She paused in silence for a moment. No, not yet, not yet. Indeed, there remains an opportunity, doesn't there? They shared a quiet laugh. The quiet enveloped her once more, yet she found herself unwilling to succumb to slumber, not with that weight pressing in her chest. She rose silently and approached the window, drawing the curtain back. The night outside unfolded in tranquility, the city exhaling gently beneath a canopy of soft lights and the faint echo of distant horns. Having trouble finding rest? Jacob inquired, materializing next to her. She gently shook her head. My thoughts just keep racing. Neither do mine. They stood together, gazing out at the street, their shoulders gently touching. She could sense the warmth of his breath, lingering just inches away. Chloe turned her head and discovered him gazing at her with those piercing eyes, sincere and perilously near. Jacob, quiet now, he edged in closer. His nose gently brushed against hers. The stillness enveloped them, heavy with unvoiced longing. Their lips were mere inches apart. Nearly. Chloe shut her eyes, yet in that fleeting moment, fear resonated more powerfully. She withdrew, bowing her head slightly. Apologies, she whispered. Jacob merely inclined his head, a faint smile gracing his lips. Everything is fine. The timing was off. She made her way back to the couch, her heart racing, filled with uncertainty. She reclined in silence, and for the first time that evening, Jacob remained quiet as well. In the shadows, each pondered the possibilities of what might have been, and what, inevitably, could still lie ahead. The following morning, Chloe stirred awake to the gentle glow filtering through the spaces in the curtain. She shifted on the couch, her body aching from the uncomfortable position, and glanced over at the mattress where Jacob had rested. The space was devoid of anything. She sprang up and hurried a few paces to the door. It was ajar. As she cracked it open further, she caught sight of Jacob leaning against the balcony railing, his back turned to her, the phone nestled between his shoulder and ear. He stood rigidly, his voice calm yet firm. I'm aware that he's transferring money from the holding account. Last month's transfers have already been reviewed. We have nearly everything we need. We only require one additional recording. Hold on. Unfortunately, I am unable to return at this time. One misstep and everything could unravel, and you're fully aware of that. Chloe retreated quietly, ensuring she remained unseen. Her heart raced with fervor. That wasn't the tone of someone merely attempting to begin anew. The tone conveyed a sense of purpose, emanating from an individual fully aware of their intentions and direction. She gradually retreated and made her way back to the living room. As Jacob entered moments later, she maintained her composure, striving to appear as natural as possible. Good morning, he remarked. His hair tousled from the wind. Good morning, she said, her gaze drifting away from him. You rose with the dawn. Rest eluded me. Phew. Chloe entered the kitchen and began brewing a fresh pot of coffee. She attempted to concentrate on the straightforward tasks, yet her thoughts continued to whirl uncontrollably. Another recording. Account in custody. I'm not able to return just yet. She was beginning to sense that Jacob's secrets ran deeper than merely masquerading as a homeless man, though she knew little of his history. Following breakfast, Jacob volunteered to step out and procure some bread. He mentioned he required a brief stroll. Chloe lingered in the apartment, solitary on the couch, her knees drawn tightly to her chest. She switched on the television, seeking a bit of ambient sound. She scrolled through the channels absent-mindedly until she found herself on a business news program. In that moment, her eyes caught sight of it. A photograph displayed two men dressed in suits. One of them was Jacob, yet he lacked stubble and didn't don plain attire. He stood in a tailored suit, encircled by a throng of reporters. The caption stated, "The mystery of Jacob Smith's disappearance endures. A billionaire is reportedly unaccounted for and might be evading capture." Chloe experienced a shiver that coursed through her spine. "Billionaire," she murmured. The journalist continued on. "Jacob Smith, the heir and CEO of a prominent investment firm, mysteriously disappeared shortly after fraud allegations emerged within the organization. There are whispers of involvement from one of his partners, yet, as of now, no concrete proof has emerged. Authorities are exploring 3 scenarios: escape, abduction, or a voluntary disappearance." She switched off the television absent-mindedly. The visage remained unchanged, the tone, the gaze. Those eyes, her grandmother insisted, were familiar from the past. It was no mere coincidence. It was indeed him. The very individual who dined on takeout while perched on the sidewalk, who rested on a mattress in the living room, who shared moments of cooking in the cramped kitchen, turned out to be a vanished billionaire. She remained motionless, attempting to assemble the truth she believed she understood. She experienced a deep sense of betrayal, feeling manipulated and deceived. Yet, she found herself recalling the small details. The tenderness he showed, the way he attended to her grandmother, the serene moments brimming with significance, the near kiss. Upon Jacob's return with a bag of bread, he discovered Chloe seated with her arms crossed, the remote control still clutched in her hand. He picked up on the atmosphere right away. "Has something occurred? Do you have something on your mind, Jacob?" He paused in the center of the room, searching for her gaze. "Concerning what topic? Be genuine, especially with me." With deliberate grace, she rose, directing the remote towards the television. "I caught a glimpse of you on the news. Jacob Smith, the elusive billionaire. They mentioned it might be that they're on the run. Isn't that you?" His silence spoke volumes. "Since when?" She pressed, her voice trembling. "When did everything become a deception?" "It was never a falsehood," he finally declared. "However, it wasn't included in the blueprint either." Chloe let out a sharp, sardonic laugh. "Not included in the strategy? Jacob, your arrival in my life felt as if you descended from the heavens. You said yes to being my partner for life. You entered my home, my loved ones. All that time, you kept it a secret that you were a millionaire." He referred to himself as a billionaire, a term he used almost instinctively. However, upon recognizing the implications of his words, he cast his gaze downward. "I apologize, that didn't come out as intended. Is this a joke?" He advanced a step, yet she retreated. "Don't touch me," Chloe said, her voice trembling. "My faith in you was unwavering. I invited you to meet my grandmother. Her voice trembled once more. "I was beginning to develop some fondness for you." Jacob appeared to struggle with a difficult gulp. His eyes brimmed with an emotion he was desperately attempting to conceal. "I had every intention of sharing it all with you. I truly needed just a bit more time. My partner is attempting to dismantle all that I have created. He has been embezzling funds from the organization. I staged my vanishing act to delve into everything discreetly, with the assistance of a reliable companion. It was the sole option to prevent him from causing further harm to others. And then you appeared, and I was caught off guard by the emotions that stirred within me." Chloe shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "However, I did. It's too late, Jacob." She approached the door and swung it open. "Chloe, it's time for you to leave. Please go now." He paused momentarily, yet comprehension dawned upon him. He clutched the bag in his hand and exited silently, leaving no further remarks behind. The door closed quietly behind him. And with it, something within her appeared to shatter as well. Chloe spent the entire night wide awake. The apartment seemed to carry a weight in Jacob's absence. Even in silence, he filled the room with an essence that now felt absent, leaving an unsettling void in its wake. She nestled into the couch, her gaze fixed on the wedding ring that remained on her finger. What could possibly be the reason for her to still have it on? Why hadn't she removed it the moment she discovered his true identity? In reality, she was reluctant to release the sensation. Amidst the chaos, that delicate ring on her finger symbolized a bond that, despite its unconventional beginnings, had evolved into something far more profound than she ever envisioned. I was beginning to develop feelings for you. She had spoken the truth, and it was undeniable. Across the city, Jacob found himself in a modest hotel room, cramped and unwelcoming for someone burdened by the weight of his history. He gazed at the ceiling, his phone lying still on his chest, powered down. After departing from Chloe's apartment, he found himself lacking the bravery to reach out to anyone. Neither the attorney nor the companion assisting him in collecting proof against his associate. Everything felt utterly bewildering. Her words lingered in his mind, resonating with an undeniable intensity. The expression of disappointment on her face stung deeper than any corporate betrayal he had ever encountered. He had always been honest about his emotions, never once deceiving anyone, yet concealing his true self, even for justifiable reasons, now seemed inexcusable. He shut his eyes and inhaled deeply, recalling the moment Chloe first uttered his name, the instant she genuinely laughed at one of his goofy jokes, the time he realized that even if everything fell apart, he had the chance to meet someone like her. 2 days passed. Chloe returned from the restaurant, weary, her thoughts dulled by the monotony of the day. Life had returned to its usual rhythm, or nearly so, yet everything seemed altered, more muted, less captivating. Upon arriving home, she casually tossed her bag onto the couch, as she always did. As she flicked on the light, her gaze fell upon an unexpected sight, a small white box resting on the kitchen table, accompanied by an envelope beside it. Her heart began to race. She approached with a deliberate pace and retrieved the note. I didn't return for my own sake, I returned for you, not to seek forgiveness, but to leave something that is rightfully yours. I'm cheering for you, no matter where you find yourself, Jay. Within the box lay a ring that mirrored her own, accompanied by a key chain adorned with a petite bouquet, unassuming yet brimming with significance. Chloe settled into her seat, cradling the objects delicately in her hands. Though she may not have felt prepared to encounter him once more, she couldn't deny the lingering emotions within her. That night, she lay in bed with a weighty heart, clutching her pillow as if it were a fragment of all they had experienced together. The following day, as she made her way to the bakery on the corner for her coffee, she paused upon noticing the news broadcast on a television situated behind the counter. Jacob stood amidst a throng of reporters. Mr. Smith, could you address the allegations of fraud that have surfaced regarding your company? A reporter inquired. Jacob responded with a serious tone, his words unwavering. Today, the authorities received the evidence. Every misstep will fall squarely on the shoulders of my business partner. During my time away, I collected all the necessary evidence to demonstrate my innocence. At this moment, I can finally take a breath. Chloe remained still, observing each passing moment. He appeared so transformed from the barefoot man she had encountered on the sidewalk, yet in a way, he was precisely the same. As she made her way home, she walked past the very sidewalk where their paths had first crossed, the exact place where she had shared that initial meal with him. The familiar, weary yet sincere gaze lingered, and tucked away in the corner was a blanket, Jacob's blanket. She knelt, her fingers caressing the fabric with a delicate touch. It was as if she had stumbled upon a specter of her own creation. That evening, she finally confronted what she had been evading. She unlocked her phone and entered his complete name into the search field. There were articles, interviews, videos, and then a nostalgic feature from the time before it all unfolded. An interview featuring him beaming alongside his father, discussing the importance of constructing an empire with integrity. She listened as he remarked, "My father always taught me that trust is the most costly thing there is, and the most delicate. Once it shatters, it seldom returns." Chloe's eyes brimmed with tears. She realized now that he was more than just a billionaire in the shadows. He was a man striving to preserve his own reputation. And in the journey, he discovered hers. The following morning, as Chloe stepped outside her front door, she discovered yet another envelope lying on the ground. Her heart raced with unexpected excitement. With hands that quivered, she lifted it and began to read. Today marks the pivotal hearing that will determine the fate of my company. I'm uncertain about the possibility of losing it all, yet I can take solace in the fact that my conscience remains intact. I simply wish to convey that to you. The memory of that almost kiss lingers in my dreams. Jacob. She shut her eyes, sensing the world decelerate ever so slightly. That night, visions of him danced through her mind. Not the polished version in a suit surrounded by flashing lights, but the man with serene eyes, who chuckled when she scorched the rice, who washed the dishes in a drenched shirt, who rested on the mattress beside the couch and offered to swap places with her. In that dream, the kiss at last unfolded. Uninterrupted, fearless, and truthful. The sun hung low in the sky as Chloe made the choice to step outside her home. She had devoted the last few days to fleeing her own thoughts, yet the reality was they lingered, weighing heavily on her chest, murmuring memories she couldn't wipe away. Even after all was revealed, a part of her continued to hold on to the memory of Jacob as the man who laughed while peeling onions alongside her, who shared a frayed blanket on the couch, who gazed at her as if time had momentarily halted for that shared glance between them. Yet at this moment, she was aware. She believed she had all the answers, or at least that was her conviction. Resolute in her desire to forge ahead, or at the very least, to feign such progress, she strolled to the local bookstore, a refuge she frequented when the enormity of life became overwhelming. She glided her fingers over the book spines, seeking a distraction as the voices of two women drifted from the other side of the shelf. And now he appears as if nothing ever transpired. That's typical of the affluent. They vanish when it's convenient and return when the coast is clear. Did you catch his video? He appeared genuine. I'm not sure, but there's a depth in his gaze that suggests genuine remorse. And that singular sentence. Which option should I choose? My sense of right and wrong remains intact. Chloe felt a knot in her stomach. She was not ready to listen to this. She wished to banish his name from the air, or even more troubling, from her mind. She returned home, attempting to shove everything aside until her phone vibrated with an unforeseen message. Unidentified caller. It's important to understand his actions on your behalf. Chloe's brow furrowed as she hesitated, just as another message arrived. This occasion includes a specific location and a designated hour. Without a name, there is no need for an explanation. For several minutes, she remained motionless, her gaze fixed on the screen. She felt utterly absurd for even entertaining the thought of going. Yet, it was the thirst for knowledge, or perhaps the desire for complete comprehension, that ultimately prevailed. At the appointed hour, Chloe made her way to the location, a modest office building nestled in the heart of downtown. Ascending the stairs to the third floor, she encountered a man clad in a suit, his gray hair framing a face marked by a serious demeanor. Miss Evans, I am Thomas. I collaborated with Jacob for numerous years. He requested that I deliver something to you directly, just in case you and he find yourselves growing distant. What type of thing? The reality, yet ultimately, it is yours to interpret and act upon as you see fit. He passed Chloe a flash drive and gestured towards the adjacent room. A computer resides within that space. It's perfectly fine to enjoy it by yourself. I'll remain here for a while. Chloe stepped inside, her heart racing, shut the door firmly, and connected the device. Only a single file. With a swift double click, the video sprang to life. Jacob appeared on the screen, seated, dressed in the same unpretentious attire he had worn during those initial days in her apartment. The backdrop was stark, unadorned. He appeared to be on edge. Hey Chloe, if you're seeing this, it means I really screwed things up. Once more. He let out a weary breath and brushed his fingers across his features. I felt compelled to share the entire story from the very start. I desired everything to be pure and sincere, yet I entered your world during a moment when vanishing was my sole chance to remain unbound. And then you arrived, and in that moment, you brought me tranquility. He took a moment, gazing directly into the lens. I consented to that wedding under the impression it would be a swift affair, merely a pretext, a means of escape. Yet within you, I discovered an unexpected treasure, a profound truth I hadn't realized I was seeking. I truly required that more than I understood. You were the first individual in ages who sought nothing from me. No concessions, no arrangements, no figures. All you wanted was to share a meal and have a conversation with me. And I found myself captivated by you long before I even recognized it. Chloe took a deep breath. The sincerity of the words pierced deeper, causing even greater pain. I decided to share this video, fully aware that this opportunity may never come again. I understand that I might risk it all, even you, but if there comes a time when you seek the truth, without pretense, I'll be here, ready. And if you choose not to, I will completely understand. Regardless, I appreciate you for being there when others weren't. Jacob. The screen faded to darkness. Chloe remained still, her body frozen in place. The words lingered, suspended in the atmosphere. It was more than a mere apology. It was an unfiltered, sincere revelation. It was genuine. As she stepped out of the room, a man named Thomas extended an envelope toward her. This is intended for you. Jacob made sure the apartment would be yours if he vanished once more. The name is his, yet the documents are prepared for the transfer. This is unacceptable to me. He wished for you to possess something uniquely yours, something that no one could ever seize from you. Chloe found herself speechless. She carried the envelope with her, yet refrained from opening it. She descended the stairs, uncertainty guiding her steps. As she made her way home, she paused at a park, settled onto a bench, and inhaled deeply. Her phone buzzed softly. Video message acknowledged. Should I send her Jacob? She paused, uncertainty flickering in her mind. The recording was made more recently. The scene began with him positioned before a window at night, the city lights shimmering in the backdrop. Additionally, I have something to reveal to you that I've kept hidden from everyone else. The camera trembled slightly as he pivoted it to unveil a wall adorned with photographs. Pictures meticulously displayed with precision. Chloe identified numerous faces among them. That day when she brought him to meet her grandmother. A fleeting instance of her resting peacefully on the couch. A hazy image captures her laughter in the kitchen, likely oblivious to his gaze. I preserved each moment, he went on. Now returning to the screen. Though it may have been fleeting, it represented the most joyful chapter of my life in quite some time. And if I must vanish once more, I want you to understand it wasn't an act. It was never intended to be a plan. It was pure affection. Chloe held the phone close to her heart. Despite her best efforts to resist, the tears began to stream down her face. It was pure affection. Chaotic, disrupted, improbable. Indeed, it was. The following morning, she awoke with a refreshed clarity in her thoughts. Should any uncertainties linger, she was determined to confront them individually. After Jacob's departure from the apartment, Chloe found herself back at the place where he once sat, a poignant reminder of his absence. The pavement that marked the start of their tale. Silence enveloped the space, as if the world had paused. No presence lingered in the air. As she approached, her eyes caught sight of something affixed to the wall. A physical photograph. It captured a moment of her and Jacob, unaware of the observer, side by side, sharing laughter. A handwritten note graces the back of the photo. The memory of that almost kiss lingers in my dreams. She smiled even as tears streamed down her face. That evening, Chloe found herself on the living room floor, enveloped in darkness, sifting through the messages, the videos, the gestures. Gradually, the bitterness began to transform into a deep yearning, and that yearning evolved into a quest for comprehension. She had not been deceived. She had experienced love that was tangled, perplexing, and filled with trepidation. Yet, loved sincerely. And once she came to that understanding, she was certain. The connection they shared was far from finished. It had been a fortnight since Jacob's previous communication. Chloe spent 2 weeks in anticipation, despite her reluctance to endure the wait. 2 weeks where the quiet resonated more profoundly than any justification. The apartment had taken on a new essence. The joyous echoes that used to bounce off the walls had vanished. The aroma of morning coffee lacked its usual flavor. The folded mattress in the corner served as a constant reminder of a presence that once filled the space. And it was no longer. Chloe made every effort to keep herself occupied. She increased her shifts at the restaurant, worked consecutive days, and tidied the apartment until every corner gleamed. Yet, as the day drew to a close and silence enveloped the surroundings, the sense of emptiness returned. She found herself torn between the pain of Jacob's absence and the deeper ache of his failure to return and mend what was broken. Life appeared to be moving in the right direction. Yet the path seemed to go in circles. One afternoon, as she diligently washed glasses at the restaurant, the manager entered with an unusual expression on her face. "Chloe, someone is waiting for you outside." She wiped her hands, a swirl of confusion in her mind. "Is there a client?" "It may not seem that way, but she mentioned that she needs to have a conversation with you. She mentioned that her name is Laura Smith." Chloe paused, caught in a moment of stillness. Smith. She stepped through the back door and found a poised woman awaiting her, dressed impeccably, with a serene yet assured stance, her brown hair elegantly arranged in a tidy bun. Her eyes resembled Jacob's perfectly. "Is your name Chloe Evans?" the lady inquired. "Indeed, may I ask who you are?" "I am the sister of Jacob." For a fleeting moment, the world whirled around. Chloe maintained her poise. "What brings you here?" Laura offered a subtle smile, as though she fully grasped Chloe's response. "I'm present in his stead, compelled to share this with you because you deserve to be informed. Guess what? He thinks of you daily, holds no regrets about your meeting, and is making an effort to honor your space, even as it deeply affects him." Chloe folded her arms, a shield against the world. "He had the opportunity to share the truth with me earlier. He did not. With all truths laid bare, he vanishes into thin air." "He didn't vanish, Chloe. He is striving to restore all that he has lost, not merely the business, but also the trust and his own identity. He believed that returning at this moment would be an act of selfishness. He stated that you have the right to make your own choices." Chloe experienced a constriction in her chest. A part of her longed to hear those words. A part of her loathed how deeply they still affected her. "What prompts you to share this with me?" "I witnessed the transformation he underwent when you entered his world, and I observed the person he reverted to once you departed. I've never witnessed Jacob embody such vulnerability and fragility simultaneously." Laura presented her with a petite envelope. "He requested that I pass this along to you, should you be receptive to it. This is an invitation to a foundational event for our family. It's the day after today. He's unaware that I'm extending this invitation to you, but he'll be present, and perhaps it's time for the two of you to cross paths once more, even if words aren't exchanged." Chloe remained motionless, caught in a moment of uncertainty. As she lifted her gaze, Laura had vanished without a trace. That evening, she gazed at the envelope resting on the table for what felt like an eternity. She picked it up, set it down again, and paced around the apartment as if each step was a point in a lively argument with herself. She was uncertain about whether she was prepared to face him, unsure if she could endure the pretense of indifference, yet a part of her recognized that avoiding Jacob might bring even greater pain. The Smith Foundation Hall exuded a refined simplicity, serving as a gathering space for discussions on investments, philanthropy, and social initiatives. Chloe entered the room clad in a modest yet charming dress, blending seamlessly into the crowd of guests. There was much discussion surrounding Jacob's re-entry into the business arena. Some claimed he possessed extraordinary brilliance. Some referred to him as impulsive. Amidst the chatter surrounding his disappearance, which felt like a cinematic tale, Chloe found herself only partially engaged. As her gaze swept across the room, she finally caught sight of him. A figure in a dark suit converses with two businessmen from across the room. He appeared more gaunt, shadows lingering beneath his eyes, yet he held his head high. He remained unmistakably Jacob. She averted her gaze at once. Her heart raced, yet she maintained her poise. She strolled to the appetizer table, feigning contemplation over the selection of cheeses, when suddenly, she heard it. As you arrived, she pivoted gradually, revealing him there, motionless, taut with anticipation, poised for an answer. Until I laid eyes on the invitation, I had my doubts. Wasn't it my sister? She mentioned that you hadn't inquired, and she was unaware that she would ultimately find herself here with me. Jacob gave a slight nod. I didn't inquire, I assumed you required some distance. What brings you here? This event is significant for the company's reputation, and I can't help but hold on to the hope of encountering you wherever my path leads. Chloe let out a deep sigh, enveloped in silence. You could have shared the truth with me earlier, not your name, not the money, but the honesty. I understand, and even after all that has happened, you allowed me to leave. You never made an effort to return. Attempting would have involved exerting effort, and given everything that transpired, I was reluctant to enter into anything that still belonged to you. I would have listened, she said, her voice trembling. I felt a surge of anger, yet it marked not the conclusion. I'm still uncertain about it. Jacob inhaled deeply. I'm not here to offer another apology or plead for another opportunity. I wanted to express my gratitude for everything, even if you don't seek anything further. You restored a piece of me that I thought was gone forever. Before the facades, the agreements, the figures, you brought me back to the essence of simply being a person and loving like anyone else. Chloe remained silent, a solitary tear slipped down her cheek, unnoticed. I'm still hurting, she said, yet I can't shake the memory of how you gazed at me while I dozed off on the couch. Moments like that linger in my mind. Jacob offered a faint smile, tinged with sadness yet sincere. Perhaps we simply require additional time. Perhaps, she responded. Is the ring still in your possession? He inquired, his gaze lingering just shy of hers. With a moment of uncertainty, she gradually lifted her hand, revealing the ring that adorned her finger. I attempted to remove it, yet there was an inner force that restrained me. In that case, I shall remain patient, no matter how much time it requires. Chloe gazed at him, her eyes lingering for an extended moment. She had a myriad of thoughts to express, countless emotions to experience, yet none felt sufficient to capture the entirety of it all. Jacob, she started. It's not merely about the events that transpired, it's about our approach to everything moving forward. I refuse to accept any more deceit, and I'm tired of this endless chase. They lingered for a moment more, enveloped by the gentle melodies of the sophisticated gathering. There were no guarantees, no assurances, just two individuals who, after all they had endured, were finally starting to grasp that perhaps a journey remained ahead, even if it was intricate and meandering. In the days that followed, Chloe returned to her routine, yet there was a subtle shift. A brief exchange of messages, a good morning from Jacob, a good night from her, small steps taken without any pressure. Occasionally, he would arrive with a coffee in hand, waiting just outside the restaurant. Without a word, he simply extended his hand, offering it to her with a gentle smile. She expressed her gratitude and then devoted the entire day to contemplating it. On a particular evening, he reached out to her with a message. Last night, I envisioned the moment you brought me to meet your grandmother. I wanted her to understand that I wasn't faking it. For the first time in ages, I genuinely felt connected to something authentic. Chloe responded with nothing more than a heart emoji. It was still premature for a fresh start, yet there remained an opportunity to rekindle the connection. Perhaps that was the most significant aspect at this moment. The morning unfolded in a unique way. As Chloe arranged the silverware at the restaurant, a sudden uproar in the dining area caught her attention. Patrons were huddled around tables, their gazes locked onto the television in the corner. The sound may have been faint, yet the visuals conveyed their message powerfully. At the forefront of the screen, a press conference unfolds, with Jacob taking center stage. Chloe felt her heart pounding in her chest. She placed the silverware aside and moved to the edge of the counter for a clearer perspective. Jacob stood confidently in a gray suit, surrounded by a flurry of microphones and cameras, exuding an air of calm assurance. His expression remained unwavering, filled with assurance, and his eyes shone with clarity like never before. She subtly increased the volume. "Today, I stand before you to unveil the findings from 2 months of meticulous investigation," he stated, locking eyes with the reporters. "Clear evidence demonstrates the attempt at embezzlement and fraud by my former partner, Marcos Ramirez." A ripple of excitement swept across the press room. During my absence, much was discussed. Allegations were put forth. There were whispers that I had disappeared without a trace. Some believed I had gone mad, yet all I did was vanish to uncover the truths that others kept hidden from me. Jacob faced the table before him, a chaotic array of documents, bank records, security footage, and recordings piled high. He rested his hand softly atop the pile. "This is the remnants of a friendship that endured for over 15 years, yet it also serves as the bedrock of the truth I vowed to unveil. The enterprise I established alongside my father will not crumble due to the avarice of a single individual, and above all, I refuse to remain silent any longer." The transmission shifted to reporters discussing the case, yet Chloe had tuned out completely. She remained motionless, her heart a whirlwind of chaos. A sense of pride, a hint of surprise, and a lingering ache that resided deep within. She recognized that man, the one who remained steadfast, who defended, and despite all odds, he was still the same Jacob who shared late-night dishwashing sessions with her at 2 in the morning. She returned to her duties, yet time seemed to drag on endlessly. Upon returning home that evening, she discovered an envelope waiting beneath the door. She identified the handwriting before her fingers even grazed the paper. "Perhaps I've approached everything in an unconventional sequence. Initially, I deceived, then I fled, subsequently I attempted to rectify the situation, but now, what I desire is to genuinely articulate my thoughts, not from a commercial standpoint, but as an individual. Would it be possible for us to gather at our location tomorrow at 4 p.m.? If you choose not to come, I will understand, but should you decide to join, I assure you I won't retreat again, J." Chloe delicately folded the note and set it down on the table with care. She inhaled deeply. She understood that the meeting was unavoidable, yet at this moment, her desire to discover which version of Jacob awaited her had intensified. The sidewalk was our stage, the very spot where it all commenced, where she offered him food for the first time, where she perceived him in a manner that no one else appeared to. Chloe made her entrance 5 minutes ahead of schedule. She felt a flutter of anxiety, a sense of unease coursing through her. A part of her yearned to escape, while another part longed to remain in that moment for eternity. Jacob was present, yet everything felt different this time. He occupied the same space, clad in dark jeans and a simple t-shirt, devoid of any attempts at concealment. He was being true to himself. He was simply Jacob, nothing more. She approached with quiet steps. He rose to his feet. "You arrived." "I certainly did." They exchanged glances for a brief moment. Time appeared to twist and warp in their presence. "Would you join me for a moment?" he inquired. Chloe paused for a moment, then settled down next to him on the sidewalk, reminiscent of the past, just as she always did. "Did you catch the press conference?" he inquired. "I did, and you followed through on your promise, and I can only imagine the sacrifice that entailed." Jacob cast his gaze downward. "I may have lost many friends and sponsors, but I've regained what truly counts, my name and the opportunity to begin anew, even if it means doing so by myself." "You're no longer by yourself, Jacob," she murmured gently. "Even when I urged you to go, you lingered in my mind, day after day." He gazed at her, taken aback by her candidness. "I never sought your forgiveness, unsure if I warranted it, but now I feel compelled to ask you something." "What is it exactly?" "Allow me to start over from the beginning. No agreements, no extravagant claims, just me being real with you. What if I continue to feel afraid? Then we shall face our fears side by side." Chloe's eyes brimmed with tears. She cast her gaze toward the pavement below, then lifted her eyes to the expanse above. "I'm uncertain about how this will conclude, Jacob. I lack the solutions. I feel the same way. However, if you wish to accompany me, I'm open to discovering what lies ahead." He smiled, a smile she had not witnessed in weeks, a smile filled with relief. "That caught me off guard, yet it's been a recurring vision in my mind." Chloe offered a shy smile in return. "I continue to seek answers. I won't pretend that my trust in you is absolute, but your absence felt like a part of me went missing too. I had no intention of taking anything from you. I simply wished to shield you from my chaos. Allow me to step in, and together we can tackle the chaos. Is that an agreement?" "No agreements," she stated, extending her hand. He accepted it. Their hands connected with a resolute touch, reminiscent of a silent vow. In that instant, silence enveloped them, for everything that needed to be expressed had already been conveyed. In the days that followed, they began to meet more frequently, always in unpretentious spots, serene coffee shops, brief strolls, and park benches. They discussed a myriad of topics, yet the past remained untouched. Jacob respected her boundaries. He bided his time, anticipating her moment. Gradually, Chloe started to embrace subtle gestures, sweet messages exchanged before sleep, a surprise visit adorned with hastily gathered flowers, and a brief dinner in the apartment that was beginning to lose its emptiness. He hadn't settled in for the night, not just yet, but his presence crept back gradually, reminiscent of a beloved tune softly echoing in the distance. On a drizzly afternoon, Jacob arrived carrying 2 grocery bags. "What is happening here?" Chloe inquired, her brow furrowed in confusion. "An extraordinary evening meal. I vowed to expand my culinary skills beyond just omelets." She chuckled softly. "I must witness this firsthand." They dedicated the afternoon to cooking side by side, chuckling over their blunders, and dividing the tasks just like in the old days. Yet now, there was an unmistakable shift, a fresh sense of tenderness, accompanied by a soothing stillness. As the moment arrived to tackle the dishes, they positioned themselves next to each other at the sink, reminiscent of days gone by. Chloe was covered in soap up to her elbows. Jacob's shirt was drenched. "This feels like a scene from a film," she remarked. "Which one is it?" he inquired, chuckling. The moment when the 2 individuals come tantalizingly close to a kiss, yet remain hesitant, not fully prepared to take that leap. He took a brief pause, set the plate aside, and turned his gaze toward her. "I am prepared." Chloe felt her breath hitch, yet she stood her ground. "Then embrace me with your lips." He leaned in gradually, taking his time. She shut her eyes. And this time, the kiss unfolded. Soft, authentic, and unwavering. It was neither the seal of an agreement nor the facade of a pretense. It was an authentic kiss. As they separated, her eyes remained shut. At last, she murmured. He leaned his forehead gently against hers. "This is something I've envisioned countless times." Same here. On that particular night, he chose to stay. Despite the silence between them, an unspoken understanding lingered in the air, signaling the beginning of an unfamiliar journey, one that promised experiences beyond their past. The stillness that enveloped them now felt distinct. It was brimming with essence, with unity, with optimism. For the first time in ages, Chloe drifted off to sleep, embracing the realization that she was no longer in a state of anticipation, she was fully immersed in her life. The morning sun filtered through the curtains, illuminating Chloe and Jacob's faces with a warm glow. She gradually lifted her eyelids, remaining beside him. In that fleeting instant, all that had transpired between them slipped away from memory. Every untruth, every departure, every moment of quiet. In that instant, tranquility enveloped everything. Jacob lay peacefully beside her, lost in slumber. One hand reached out between them, as if even in slumber, he was reluctant to release her. Chloe examined his features intently. He appeared so different in slumber, more exposed, reminiscent of the man she had first encountered on the sidewalk. The man who received a plate of food offered a quiet thank you, as if it held greater value than gold. She leaned in and pressed her lips softly against his forehead. Jacob gradually blinked awake, a gentle smile spreading across his face, lingering in that dreamy state. Now that's what I would describe as a splendid morning. Did you have a restful night? She inquired, gently tucking a stray lock of hair behind his ear. As if time itself had come to a standstill. In that fleeting instant, I found myself longing for it to have truly happened. She reclined next to him, turning to face him, their features mere inches apart. Last night was like a surreal experience. Today remains, yet it feels authentic. Could it be? It is, he remarked, gently brushing his fingers against her cheek, and I wish for it to remain just like this. Chloe smiled, yet a flicker of concern danced in her gaze. She propped herself up in bed, drawing the blanket snugly around her shoulders. Fear grips me. Jacob propped himself up, studying her intently. What do you mean? This feels like a fleeting moment of perfection. Just when it seems like we're on the right track, something is bound to come along and throw everything off course once more. I'm uncertain if I could endure that experience once more. He softly grasped her hand. While the future remains uncertain, we have the power to cultivate a more resilient present, step by step. Take your time, be honest. Please continue to be truthful, without exception. I assure you, I am no longer the same person who lingered on that sidewalk, and it's all thanks to you. Chloe leaned against him, her head finding a comfortable spot on his shoulder. In that quiet moment, words were unnecessary, they simply absorbed the rhythm of each other's breaths. It felt like time had deliberately decelerated, allowing that moment to stretch infinitely. How about we engage in a fun little activity for those who prefer to skim through the comments? Leave a comment with Coca-Cola. Only those who have journeyed to this point will truly comprehend. Let us proceed with the narrative. That afternoon, Jacob extended an invitation for her to join him, but it wasn't for an upscale dining experience or a crowded gathering. He wished to reveal to her an aspect of his life that remained unknown to her until now. Let's take a drive, he suggested, a cryptic smile playing on his lips. Chloe settled into the car, surrendering to the journey ahead. The path was serene, bordered by trees, and gradually led into a more secluded region, far from the hustle of the city. After almost an hour, they reached an old country house, unpretentious, charmingly rustic, yet meticulously maintained. What is our current location? This place was my dad's go-to spot for me whenever I needed to find some clarity. Since his passing, I find myself coming here whenever the noise becomes overwhelming. Chloe emerged from the vehicle, her gaze sweeping the surroundings. A tranquil lake lay nestled at the back, accompanied by a porch adorned with a hammock, while the soft, distant melodies of birds filled the air. It's truly stunning. It's real, he declared, striding toward the porch. Exactly like us. She trailed behind, intrigued. Within the confines of the house, simplicity reigned supreme. Antique volumes, scenic artworks, a cozy hearth, and a well-loved leather sofa. Chloe gently traced the edges of a picture frame that held an image of a youthful Jacob alongside a distinguished older man. Is that your father? Indeed, he imparted the lesson that wealth can procure nearly anything, but it cannot purchase integrity. For years, I dedicated myself to demonstrating his error, only to come to the profound understanding that he had been correct from the very beginning. Do you think he would support your current efforts? I certainly hope so. He would have adored you, without a doubt. Chloe beamed, feeling a wave of emotion. And how about yourself? Do you hold affection for me? Jacob moved in, mere inches separating him from her face. I believe I'm beginning to. Her eyes grew wide, taken aback by his candid response. Jacob had stepped out of the shadows. He stood his ground. She, in contrast, sensed her heart racing more than it ought to. Beginning? Indeed, it terrifies me more than any blow I've ever faced in life. She inhaled deeply. It seems we have reached a balance. The remainder of the afternoon was enjoyed on the porch. Jacob brewed a pot of coffee using a vintage coffee maker that had been passed down from his father. Chloe enveloped herself in a blanket, and the two of them sat in serene silence, observing the sky's reflection dance upon the lake. I needed this, she said, cradling a cup in her hands. I did as well. Have you ever considered walking away from it all? Simply vanishing? I have done so on numerous occasions. However, I came to understand that fleeing is not the same as beginning anew. Escaping means abandoning all that you know. Beginning anew involves deciding on a place to call home. Chloe cast her gaze upon him. So, you decided to remain? No matter your location, that's where I'll find myself. Her lips curved into a smile. That's somewhat unsettling as well. Many valuable things are. As they journeyed back to the city, the quietude enveloping them was a source of solace. But Chloe understood that what she felt had transcended mere affection. It was greater. Intensely profound, vividly immediate, undeniably essential. Yet, concurrently, it was still under construction. Jacob, in contrast, navigated the road with a serene expression, a stark departure from the anxious figure he had been in the preceding months. He found tranquility. And a portion of that was due to her influence. A few days later, Jacob arrived at the entrance of Chloe's restaurant. His expression was distinct, marked by seriousness yet tinged with a hint of anxiety. Could we have a brief conversation for 5 minutes? She requested a moment from the manager and gracefully stepped outside with him onto the sidewalk. What's happening? I received an invitation to present on the topic of restoring reputations within the business realm. It will take place at an academic institution. I would be delighted if you could accompany me. What is the reason behind this? Your presence is woven into the fabric of my narrative. And because I wish for everyone to recognize the woman who guided me in rediscovering my true self. Chloe beamed, taken aback. That's quite meaningful. It seems you're becoming a bit nostalgic, Jacob. That's on you. She regarded him with a contemplative gaze. Very well, I shall proceed. When the day of the talk arrived, Chloe accompanied him to the auditorium. Jacob ascended the stage, grasped the microphone, and commenced his speech with assurance. For years, I thought that my achievements determined my value. In the depths of losing everything, even my sense of self, I came to understand that true value lies not in our possessions, but in the presence of those who remain with us when all else fades away. He stopped for a moment, casting a subtle look toward Chloe's seat. In that void, I discovered a presence that reflected my true self, someone who recognized me even in my moments of insignificance. A person who presented me with a meal and an opportunity for redemption. Chloe's cheeks warmed, yet her gaze remained steady. That individual is more than a mere character in my narrative. She is the reason for my presence here today. Bravo! A significant amount of it. In that instant, she realized that a profound transformation had taken place. Jacob had transformed into something known, no longer a hidden pain. He represented a fresh start. Following the event, they strolled side by side to the parking lot. Did I overshare? He inquired with a light-hearted tone. You articulated precisely what was necessary. I believe I have come to grasp your emotions at last. What are your thoughts on that? She paused, inhaled deeply, and met his gaze with unwavering intensity. Perhaps I'm beginning to feel the same way about you. Jacob moved in, his hands softly cradling her face. In the end, can we truly say that all the turmoil was justified? In that moment, they embraced the thrill of the world around them, sharing kisses amidst the bustling cars, unafraid and alive. For now, all secrets had been laid bare. The days that followed the conversation were unlike anything Chloe had ever encountered. Not due to the events unfolding around her, but because of the turmoil brewing within her. After an extended period, she awoke to find a sense of tranquility enveloping her heart. It wasn't the lack of difficulties, but rather the existence of support that enabled her to tackle each minor obstacle with greater confidence. Jacob. They refrained from defining what they shared. No promises were made. Yet, their deeds conveyed everything that needed to be said. The cheerful morning messages, the impromptu meals in the cozy kitchen, the leisurely strolls under the evening sky. All was nuanced and profoundly authentic. Chloe felt the unmistakable stirrings of love within her heart. Not with the figure who once dominated headlines or the affluent executive, but with the individual who chuckled at his culinary blunders, who recalled her coffee preferences, who offered a patient ear when she sought to share her thoughts. Jacob had transformed as well. The unease that once shadowed him, the taut, watchful expression had all transformed into a more tranquil, composed demeanor. As though he had at last come back to the essence of himself from before everything changed. Before the weight of expectations, the relentless drive, the vanishing act. That evening, as they stood side by side at the sink, Chloe paused and inquired, "Do you believe we would have crossed paths if none of that had transpired? What if I hadn't spotted you on the sidewalk that day?" Jacob wiped his hands on a dish towel and paused, contemplating, "I don't think so. And that terrifies me. What is the reason behind this? That signifies I had to relinquish everything to discover what genuinely holds significance." Her gaze fell upon him. At times, that's just the way things unfold. Clarity emerges only when we relinquish all that we cling to. You were all that remained. He offered a faint smile. And also what remained. She chuckled softly. It resonated with both a sense of romance and an underlying tragedy. The concept was clear. Several weeks passed, and then Chloe found herself the recipient of an unforeseen message from Jacob. "Would you like to go somewhere with me tomorrow?" Though the distance is short, its significance is profound. She responded with an instinctive yes, intrigued by the enigma. The following morning, he arrived at her doorstep, holding a modest bouquet of wildflowers bound together with a strip of red fabric. Nothing extravagant. "I believed it would be perfect for you," he said, offering her the flowers with a bashful grin. "Elegant and charming," she playfully remarked. "Precisely." They navigated along a rugged dirt path until they arrived at a location unfamiliar to Chloe. A vast expanse of land stretches out, offering an unobstructed panorama of the distant mountains. The wind howled fiercely, while the sky stretched out in a brilliant expanse of clear blue. A wooden structure was taking shape in the heart of the field. A handful of individuals were engaged with planks and posts, taking measurements, cutting, and hammering away. "What is this all about?" Chloe inquired as she emerged from the vehicle. "I'm embarking on a new social initiative, establishing a support home for families facing homelessness." She remained still, absorbing every moment around her. "I vowed to channel all my experiences into creating something significant. Not merely to vindicate myself, but to genuinely begin anew. This marks the initial step forward." "It's stunning, Jacob. It isn't at this moment, but it certainly will be in the future. I hope you'll return here with me one day when everything is prepared. Your influence has profoundly altered my perspective on the world around me." Chloe's eyes brimmed with tears. "I didn't take any action. All the work was done by you." They lingered in silence, observing the unfolding scene, her hair dancing in the breeze, the sun gently caressing their shoulders. Then Jacob's expression shifted to one of gravity. "I've been reflecting deeply on how to conclude this chapter, how to transition from beginning anew to embracing the fresh. With a glint of curiosity in her eyes, she gazed at him as he delved into his pocket, retrieving a small envelope. It was pristine, adorned with her name elegantly inscribed in flowing script. Unseal it in solitude. After several hours, once she returned home, Chloe settled at the kitchen table and carefully opened the envelope. Within lay a letter. Chloe, if you're seeing this, it's because I couldn't express it verbally. Your gaze leaves me breathless. As I sat on that sidewalk months back, I believed I had lost it all, yet the universe revealed that what truly mattered was still with me. I simply hadn't discovered it yet. And then you appeared, offering a simple gesture, with eyes that perceived me in a manner no one else ever had. And I transformed, and I evolved, and I discovered love, not for your actions, but for your essence. And now, I wish to pose a question, not to escape with you, to remain, to create, not an ideal tale, but an authentic one, progressing gradually, with affection, with honesty, with you. If you're in, let's rendezvous on the hotel rooftop tomorrow at 6 p.m. I will always be there. At the designated hour, Chloe ascended the hotel stairs, her heart pounding with anticipation. Upon arriving at the rooftop, she discovered a beautifully adorned space, illuminated by gentle lights, flickering candles, and petals delicately strewn about. Jacob faced away from her, captivated by the fading light of the sunset. She approached with a deliberate pace. It's too beautiful to be mere chance, she remarked, gazing at the orange sky that adorned the horizon. He turned around, dressed in a light-colored suit that exuded elegance, though he had chosen to forego a tie. You came. Of course I did. Jacob reached into his pocket and retrieved a small box. He opened it slowly. I'm not here to reiterate commitments. I'm here to make just one promise, that everything that comes next will be better than everything that came before. Because now, it's with you, for you, because of you. Chloe felt the tears stream down her cheeks, yet she remained silent. She simply extended her hand. He delicately slid the ring onto her finger. Is that a yes? He inquired. That's a finally. They shared an embrace. And there, beneath the radiant sky, amidst the tranquility and the laughter, a new chapter unfolded. 3 months later, the wedding unfolded in Margot's backyard, simple yet brimming with significance. Chloe donned a flowing dress adorned with intricate lace, her hair cascading freely around her shoulders. Jacob stood at the altar, a smile gracing his lips, his eyes brimming with emotion. During the vows, he expressed, I've experienced wealth and poverty, faced accusations and found vindication, but none of that defines who I am. You showed me that love isn't a strategy, it's a choice made every day, and I choose you, today, tomorrow, even if everything crumbles once more. Chloe fought against her tears, but it was futile. For years, I believed I needed someone to rescue me, and then you appeared, not as a savior, but as a fellow human. And because of that, I choose to walk beside you, to face the chaos and also the peace. They shared a kiss as friends, family, and even former co-workers from the restaurant applauded with fervor. At the reception, Chloe's grandmother beckoned the two to come closer. At last, I can find my tranquility. I witnessed my girl tie the knot, and to a wonderful man. You've got plenty of years ahead, Grandma, Chloe said, planting a kiss on her forehead. Time doesn't concern me, my heart is at ease. Jacob grasped her hand. Thank you for having faith in me when no one else did. I recognized your eyes, and eyes don't lie. As the final dance of the evening unfolded, Chloe and Jacob found themselves barefoot, gently twirling beneath the soft glow of the garden lights. You know what I cherish most about you? She inquired. My allure, your unwavering commitment to remain, to strive, to love me in your unique manner. Even when it felt like the odds were stacked against us. I succeeded only because you recognized my worth before anyone else. She paused her movements, locking her gaze onto his with fervor, for you were always clear to me. He pressed his lips to hers, and in that moment, everything else faded away. In that garden, with all doubts laid to rest, they came to a profound realization. Their identity was not shaped by their past. It was the foundation they had created from it, united as one. What are your thoughts on Chloe and Jacob's tale? Share your opinions in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? We'd love to know your score. And remember to subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated on all our narratives. Explore additional heartfelt narratives by clicking here on the final screen.